Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Cowboy Bebop. A great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, I'm going to let you know, get this out of the way. I do not remember much of Cowboy Bebop. It's been years. I remember the tiniest bits here and there, but I don't have it as cemented in my mind as other people, because I haven't seen it since I was a little kid, and it was like airing on like Adult Swim and stuff like that. I think I've seen some of it here and there. I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through, as I've gotten older. Even as an adult, I don't think I've seen it since. So I am going to miss a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, this is straight out of the anime, or they changed this or changed that. So don't expect that from this. So to me, I'd say it's almost like I'm watching this for the first time in certain regards. I vividly remember how the anime ended, because I always remember it breaking my heart, and also how for a long time I remember learning oh, it's up in the air what the ending means, whether it was one way or another, whether a certain thing happened or it didn't happen. Because I think didn't the creator never decide on that, or was it years later that the creator was like, okay, this is what happened? I think it is definitive what happens at the end. Regardless, we're not at the end, we're at the beginning, so I'm not going to go there. But my point is, I don't know how much they've changed, how much maybe they switched stuff around, because this episode, they delved into Spike's past, you get flashes of it, but I'm like, did they do that at the beginning of the series? I didn't remember that. Because in my head, I keep thinking the only time you learn about Spike's past are in the last episodes. So I feel it's not, I always remember it being at the very, very, very end of the series, the last couple episodes is when the main overarching plot, everything revolving around Spike's past is happening. So not unless they're pulling stuff from later parts in the anime, making it happen first in the live action stuff, or whether it's just, no, that's straight out of the anime. Because I saw something, I didn't watch it, that was saying too faithful to the anime, so it might be kind of a one-for-one in certain regards. I don't know. That's just something I saw, and it did have a question mark behind it. So I try to come into these as blind as possible. It was just something I came across. I hadn't watched any. I probably won't watch said thing until after I've seen everything, kind of formulate my own opinions and stuff like that. But regardless, it was nice kind of just straight up jumping into this world. Like I said, it's not I don't remember everything, but I do remember bits and pieces, and I do man, it's freaking John Cho as Spike. I'm still giddy about that. I think that's pretty dope. And just him coming in with the headphones, oh, hey, during a bank robbery, it's oh, the corporations are running thing, they own this place. He's yeah, I used to work somewhere, and you know what, who fired me? The freaking corporations. But Spike coming in, headphones on, and he's oh, sorry, I was just gonna make a bet. Flicks coin in the air, jumps, kicks, and just showing off all the skills, hand-to-hand, gunplay, Jet's calling him out for rushing things. Spike kind of always goes at his own speed, but it's right, we're not supposed to kill anyone, and then immediately Jet kills someone. It's right, what was that about you just telling me not to kill anyone? So I even love at one point in time he's holding that old lady hostage, and Spike's I gotta go ahead. What is she 80? You've had kids. You've lived your life. I'm surprised that lady didn't call him out for his BS later on. But it's yeah, the last dude was in the bathroom taking a dump. So I was really? You're gonna take a shit during a heist? Fires a disruptor. It leaves a giant hole. And it's cool. Everyone some of the people who are, luckily they're already dead, got sucked into space. And it's right, they're trying to protect their investment and keeping this Tanaka guy alive. They need him alive for the bounty. And so luckily they were able to bring those shutters down before either him nor Spike got sucked out. So it's cool. It worked out in the end. And even the lady at the end's oh, who are you? And just some bounty hunters, ma'am. And then the intro play. I didn't know they were doing, obviously, because I know you can find it on the Netflix YouTube channel, the opening, credits for it. So I think that's pretty dope. But the fact is that just the and hearing that music again, I'm oh dude, I legitimately have not heard it in years. Hearing it again, I'm oh, 3, 2, 1. You're oh dude, the nostalgia boner I'm getting. I'm not someone who fights back against nostalgia. You want to nostalgia the hell out of me to the point you're putting me into a coma, I'm fine with that. Because once again, I'm also coming from the perspective of, yeah, this is nostalgia for a lot of people. Once again, it's pretty much like watching it for the first time for me because I don't remember. So as the episode started flowing, I was I do remember one distinct thing about Cowboy Bebop. It's one of those animes that got super depressing. It's just one of those things where it's oh yeah, some of these storylines, there's no happy endings. I feel like most of the storylines are kind of like, like Faye screwed them out of some money, like Faye's doing better than them and they get screwed out of a bounty again. Usually that, but then there are other storylines I do know, like, yeah, they have very, like, depressing ass ending, because there's, like, a very, like, noir style to Cowboy Bebop, you know, just like, the use of the music and everything. It's just so good. But then obviously Spike reminiscing about his past, like I said earlier, like, I didn't remember that coming up this early. I remember bits and pieces about his past, not a lot. Because at first I was like, is it? Because they were bringing up the Syndicate later on. I was like, wasn't Spike part of the Syndicate? And he was like, okay. So I was like, yeah. Because I don't think Jet knows. If I remember correctly, I don't think he did. I think Spike kept that for himself. I know later on Faye definitely doesn't know. But I don't think Jetty did either. Once again, kind of spoilers, I guess, for later on. Once again, this is me talking about stuff I might be completely wrong about because I don't remember. But, the back and forth about, like, right, we don't have any money. Hell, they even turned into Tanaka bounty, and it went from, like, 1.5 million to them only getting 100,000 of it. I was like, man, I remembered you guys getting screwed, but I didn't remember them ever going into the explicits of, like, how you got, because of the damage, there's multiple taxes that they had to pay, and then, yep, at the end of it, you get to walk away with 100,000. I love it. And then you also, like, was it, Chalmers, that like cop who throws bones towards Jet, because it's like, right, your ex-wife told me if anything comes up to throw it your way, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure that's not the only bone you're throwing her way, huh? I'm like, man, that's got to hit your pride. Like, oh yeah, like the dude that's like, I don't know if they're married. I don't remember that at all. I don't even remember, like, was Jet a cop at one point in time? I don't remember. Like, the fact is he has that type of relationship with the cops. It's like, right, it's not just you're with my ex, but I think there was something there. I don't remember, like, I don't know if the anime ever covered Faye's past. I would assume they did. I don't remember much about Jet. I think I even completely forgot he had a kid. I'm like, man, like, because like I said, it's pretty much like watching it for the first time. So like I said, I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes. And you're like, oh, you idiot, that was in the anime. Like, I'm telling you from the beginning. I told you from the beginning, I'm going to get a lot of stuff wrong because I don't remember the anime that well because it's just been so long. Because the Red Eye stuff seemed familiar to me. I just wasn't sure. Like Asimov and Katarina, you know, him injecting the Red Eye and just kind of going berserk. I did appreciate the first person view, especially like tanking that bullet, killing everyone else, even beating that one dude to death with your bare hands. So that was pretty interesting. But I do like how, like, jacked up Jet and Spike are, like, relationship wise, because they're just like, oh, like, they argued at 1 minute and then, like, they're buddy the next, because, like, God, I'm saying that, if I remember correctly, wasn't there a storyline where, like, they, like, stopped working together for a while but made up, like, by the end of the episode? Like, I think they, like, really had a big falling out about how to handle something, and they both went about it their separate ways, but at the end they came out together. I feel like I remember that, but maybe that's, once again, could be me, like, full of shit. But I like that it's like, right, you know, despite everything, you did like the look on that guy's face. It's like, yeah, he looked pretty shocked. Yeah, pretty shocked and dead. Ha ha ha. I'm like, you psychopathic motherfuckers laughing about that? That's some twisted shit. I forgot how twisted, like, because all I ever remember about Spike, aside from Steve Bloom's voice, I'm like, freaking Steve Bloom is the man, dude. Oh, God, he's just one of those voice actors. You're like, man, you're fucking everywhere, dude. It's just like you're all up in, like, a lot of my favorite animes. You and Johnny Young Bosch. But once again, tangents on all that aside. But I always remember Spike being, like, the very cool, calm, and collected person. Like, he doesn't, like, he can get annoyed, but he's always got that very laissez-faire attitude. That's what I always remember about Spike's personality. I always did slip my mind too, like how good at hand-to-hand combat he was. I always remember him being good at a gun, but I'm like, oh yeah, but then I'm thinking about him and Vicious's fights. Kind of spoilers, I guess. But like, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that being like a sick-ass fight too. But tangents and all that aside, I love that obviously he didn't want to go after this next one, this next bounty, Asimov. Because it's like, right, I don't want to go there because it's in Tijuana. He's like, you know what I got the last time I went to Tijuana? What, herpes? It's like, no, stabbed. when I was buying a churro. So it's like, no, I'm not going there again. But he's like, what? You don't want my daughter to have her birthday? It's like, well, I can't even get my girl a birthday present because it's like this special doll or whatever. It's like all the rage. And you want my daughter to have her birthday? And he's like, did that make you feel better? He's like, yeah, a little bit. Like, come on, Spike, you owe me. So reluctantly has to go. And just I love he's asking information to guy. He's like, oh, have you seen any? The guy's like, I haven't seen anything since I left Earth. And he holds up his eyes and his eyes are going. He's like, oof, thanks. And just looking around, he's just like, oh, I hate this place so much. But obviously we immediately learn about Faye being on a job because Jet is meeting with the lady from the bar, and she's like, oh yeah, like there was some purple haired girl like asking information, and like, oh, she's already stepped onto the stage. But Spike meeting Katarina, it's like, oh yeah, like smoking, it'll be bad for the baby, which is so interesting considering like she just told her like because she asked for water at the bar, and the lady was like, she was telling like, oh, like, do I look like I should be having a drink? And she's like, yeah, you do, because being pregnant is even more reason to drink, I guess. But immediately going for a cigarette. But Spike, when you actually look at it, you're like, man, I forget too, Spike's a smooth motherfucker. Because he's got that elegance about him. But I love that moment between him and Katarina. And he's like, oh, you're so romantic. And she was like, you've never been in love. He's like, I was once. And she was like, what happened? He was like, I was dreaming, so I had to wake up. And I was like, there's like a poeticness to that. Like, and that's the thing, like, there is a poeticness to this show. Like, you know, there is beauty and tragedy, you know, in the stories. And that in particular is one of them. Obviously, we're kind of getting tidbits here and there of Spike's story and his love and how complicated that whole situation was. But obviously, Faye is here not for Asimov, but Katarina, her dad, she was hired by her dad to bring his daughter home. And obviously, Spike and her tussle, and it's like, yeah, the beginning of a beautiful and contentious relationship right here, ladies and gentlemen. Katarina gets away, and he's got the gun pointed at them, but he lowers it the moment he locks eyes with Katarina. Faye gets locked up in the bathroom, talking all kinds of shit, because Faye is the filthy mouth person that she is, and you can't help but love her for it. So now it's like, right, the syndicate's involved, and because of that, Spike wants to walk away, but Jet doesn't. He's just like, right, we could still do this. And it's just like, and I love Faye being like, cool, yeah, go team, split 50-50. Hey guys. And it's like, yep. So Jet takes off to the streets, Spike off to the skies. He did bring up the whole thing about being from Mars. I was like, I didn't remember that. Once again, I'm going to be saying that a lot. It's going to be so annoying. But I never remember him being, because I didn't remember what the circumstances of this series was. Because obviously we're like, this is like post-Earth stuff. Like, I don't remember what happened to Earth in this universe, but this is one of those space series where it's like, yeah, because that's why they have, like, New Tijuana. But that's what I was saying earlier, like, at the heart of this story, like, this being, like, this romantic story of, like, right, these two are trying to get away, finding out, like, Asimov stole Red Eye from the Syndicate. That's why they're after him. It's like, right, one of their members went rogue and stole from them, so you got to make him pay. But also, like, you know, he did that so they'd have enough money to run off together. And it seems like she's pregnant. Spike tried to offer Asimov a way out of this with, hey, like, obviously you don't want Katarina mixed up in this, so hand yourself over and I will make sure that she gets out of this, that she's able to get away. Because Spike, being the hopeless romantic that he is, he kind of wants, you know, because when he sees her, it makes him think about his love, and he's just like, right, I want to help this, you know, help her out. You know, you're young and in love. The world hasn't kind of taken everything from you, like it hasn't broken you like it kind of did me, so hasn't made you jaded to some extent. So despite, like, he having some angle of jadedness to him, there is still, like, the hopeless romantic at heart there, you know? And he tries to get them out of there, but, you know, Asimov won't go and ends up tussling with Spike and Jet. Syndicate shows up and gotta light the place up. And it turns out, hey, Katarina isn't actually pregnant. She was holding all the vials there. That's why I was wondering, I was like, are they actually on her? Once again, probably something straight out of the anime. Because the moment, like, she got hit, I was like, oh, they're just gonna, like, wow, I was like, killed her and the baby. But it's like, nope, that's where all the vials were. But in that moment, I guess for for Spike, I guess in that moment, it's like, right, I gotta do what I gotta do. It's just like, whether it's just in that moment, it's like, that's too close for comfort. She could have died, but also, like, she's holding all those vials. It's like, right, she's all about this too. This wasn't just his plan. She had her own plan, like, part to play in all of this, but it's like, right, she doesn't deserve to die. Like, I want her to at least be able to go live her life. So Spike, dual wielding, goes to work, putting everyone down, and the last guy's like, Fearless. I was like, oh man, I forgot you had that was your code name. And he's like, yeah, Chivo, I want everyone to think I'm dead. So home dude gets away at the end and ends up reporting it later, but we'll get to that soon enough. But yeah, he's strangling Jet. Luckily, Faye got off the ship because Jet, being the idiot he is, left the password nearby. It's Bean. And she's like, oh, you freaking idiot. And she got a gun, which I love that when it was all over, Jet's like, is that my gun? Give that to me. And she's like, oh, you guys are such dicks. She ended up shooting Asimov. I mean, he wouldn't have stopped either way with him being on Red Eye. But, I mean, because Faye doesn't care. She's just doing what she's got to do. I mean, luckily it saved Jet's life, but still, Spike goes chasing after them. And out in the space, like, if they keep going, like, the police are going to shoot. And Spike's trying to, like, tell her, just go back. Like, we can, like, let me help you. And she's like, it's just like you said. Time to wake up. Goes forward. They riddle the ship with bullets. And she dies. And just Spike just kind of closes his eyes. And then we cut back to the Syndicate, where Vicious learns about Spike still being alive. And it's like, right, find out if Fearless is alive, track down that bounty hunter, and bring me his head if it's him. And then we see him kissing. He's like, oh, nothing for you to worry about, my love. It's like, yeah, you're making sure she doesn't know about Spike. If I remember correctly, is it Julie or Julia? It's something like that, I think. Spike's girl, who's now with Vicious. So I think it's like she actually thinks he's dead. I remember some of their confrontation, specifically hers and Spike's, in the anime, but I don't remember all. Well, I remember how their story plays out is how I remember it. Just something to keep just a reminder once again to anyone that might be new to this. Like, right, you've never seen the anime, so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna watch the live action version because maybe you weren't old enough to be around. I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this, or people who are like, I'm curious, how did it translate to live action? I'm sure there's people watching that, but I'm also curious, like, how many people are new to this series at all and they're just coming into it for the first time. And that's definitely going to be interesting. But regardless, if for some reason you are new to this series, to just Cowboy Bebop in general. Sorry, I stumbled through that. Like I brought up earlier, the one distinct that I remember, there will be heartbreaking storylines. This is one of those animes. Like, it's like, the next one I think about is like Outlaw Stars, in that same vein. I mean, another like high, like science fictional space thing. But like, yeah, they both have depressing storylines that it's just like, yeah, you wish things would play out differently. But there's also like, once again, it's got that noir like feel to it of just like, storytelling wise and everything like that. It's got that noir feeling vibe, especially when you add in like the music to it and everything. And I'm just like, man, it's still wild to be like, man, we're here. I don't know, like, because they also referenced the movie at the end there, and I'm like, man, I didn't even remember the movie. I wonder, does Netflix have the rights to stream the movie? I mean, they have the rights to like the actual anime, so you can actually, like, if I wanted to, I could watch the anime, but I don't want to. I want it to kind of go into the live action like as clean as I could, or just like, you know, not knowing anything, not remembering much. So, you know, maybe after the fact I'll watch the anime. I don't know. We'll see. But, like, I definitely don't remember the movie that well. Because I remember seeing the movie, like, once years ago as well. So I don't have as... Like, I remember a little about the anime. I probably remember next to nothing about the movie. So I guess some of that adaptation is going to get thrown in the mix of this. But I am curious because in my head, when I think Cowboy Bebop, I think of, like, oh, like, shenanigan-filled adventures for most of the series, and then in the last few episodes, you get the full-blown story arc. But maybe it was always mingled even during those earlier episodes. I've always associated with, like, Cowboy Bebop, the main overarching story isn't until, like, the final episodes, because the final episodes deal with, like, all of Spike's past, obviously the Syndicate and stuff like that, but I could be 100% wrong in that, so And I will be saying that again and again to the point you're going to be like, okay, dude, shut up about being 100% wrong. I'm so sorry. But I'm excited to continue watching Cowboy Bebop, you know. Get a little bit of those nostalgia feels from what I can remember, but also just kind of just enjoying the ride, essentially. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us, you know. See you, Space Cowboys. I was like, man, God, it just feels so cool. It feels so good to just kind of be living in that world. I'm curious, like, how different, like, if it will just be a full-blown Fateful adaptation, or I'm curious to learn from people after the fact, like, just knowing, because this is a season 1 of, like, a 24-episode anime. That's why I'm also curious, like, how it plays out pacing-wise. Like, what will the end of this season look like? Because I'm like, if they did, like I would expect them to change stuff, but I think I don't know. I'm so curious because I do believe this was also adapted into a manga at later points. I don't know what the manga is like in comparison to the anime. So tangents and all that aside, I'm just interested to see where all this ends up taking us. Like always, I'm going to be watching and reviewing these one episode at a time. And these will all be going up. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, then that means the other 9 episodes will be at some point later today. They'll always be in 15 increments from each other, whenever it is that I'm able to get done with the entire season and get this uploaded. But aside from that, that's really all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.